guys, welcome back. It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. And as promised, this week I'm going to share a story with you guys about a Facebook marketplace transaction dealing with a car part, maybe, and sports cards. So to kind of get you guys caught up, last week I did a segment on sport card collecting and how it's a very nostalgic thing I've been doing with my son. We've been buying packs, collecting sets, selling off some singles, selling off some really great fun cards that we've gotten along the way. And because of all the sports card activity in my life, my social media feed is full of sports card related things now. And so I also have some stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I have a Mitsubishi Eclipse hood and front seats for a Mitsubishi Eclipse and a few other random things. And so one thing that I have on Facebook Marketplace today is a garage hoist. And the reason that I have it is because this car right here, as you guys are aware, it has a hard top fastback roof on it. And it's fiberglass, so it doesn't weigh a ton, but it has a solid sheet of glass inside. And so with that glass, it makes the roof a little bit heavy. And so the long and short of it was, I have this hoist that I was going to hang from the ceiling and kind of rig it up so that I could literally lower the lift, have the car come down and have the top stay up. It would store it up off the ground, out of the way. It'd be really a win-win situation. I don't have to, try to manhandle this thing and the whole 9 yards. Well, anyway, the truth is I don't really have room to mount a hoist, and it's a large machine. It looks like a small winch. And basically you mount it to, a truss or a rafter of whatever sort, and it supports the weight and all the things, and it's got a wired remote, much like your winch would, that goes in and out, and it's a spooled aluminum cable and yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to use it. I don't have the room up on the ceiling. The car goes up with like this much room to spare, and this much room, and I need this much room for the hoist and all the mechanical parts and the hook and all the things. So long and short of it is I decided I'd sell it. So it's on Facebook Marketplace currently, and it was a Harbor Freight special. It's nothing incredible. It's a bit heavier duty. Actually, it belonged to my grandfather, and he used it to move big, heavy woodworking equipment. He had a wood shop, and he'd use it to move pieces of machinery around his shop. He had it kind of on a track, and it was actually really clever the way he had it set up. But he didn't use it that often. It was there for, as he aged, things got heavier, right? He just couldn't move pieces of machinery around like he once was able to. So he'd hook a saw, for example, up to this hoist and lift it up in the air, and then he'd move his table around or whatever it was, and then he'd bring the saw back down. Easy, right? And so it only was used very lightly. It never really saw anything heavy duty. But he bought a pretty good one because he didn't know how much weight he was going to be moving depending upon the piece of machinery. So this was a little bit heavier duty one. I want to say it's like a 1,500 or an 1,800 pound one, something like that. And it sells for like $159 at Harbor Freight. Not a big deal. A name brand equivalent might be something like $299. It's a couple $100 machine. It's nothing crazy. I have it on Facebook Marketplace for $150 or best offer. And really, in my mind, if someone offered me $100, I'd take it. I've had a lot of people say, well, if I could use it if you'd take $50. No, I mean, at that point, I'll just hang on to it. It's not in my way. It's sitting over here on my workbench. It's fine. And I'm not in a rush to see it go. It's not a big deal. It is what it is. But, I'd really like to see myself get about $100 for it. So I've had a couple people offer me, if you can hold it till payday, I'll give you 100 or whatever, or I'll buy it for 125. And then I never hear from the people again. They just vanish. So how this relates to sports cards. Now, a gentleman reached out to me and said, hey, Josh, I could really use this piece of machinery. I've got to work on this tractor or backhoe or something like that. And I need it to move things out of the way and hold it and whatever. I'm not exactly sure how he was planning to use it, but he needed it for his project. And he goes, I don't really have the cash. I can't really afford it. Would you be open to a trade? And I said, well, I mean, not really. I don't really want to trade. I've not had great success with trades before, but what do you have? Because I'm an idiot. So he says, oh, I've got these watches and I've got these, tools and I've got this, that, and the other and a TV and some baseball cards and some other sports cards and whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, tell me about the watches. So he does. And he basically says, oh, I have this old watch that's 60 years old that's totally beat up and looks like garbage, but it's worth $200. And I'm like, I don't know that it is. So I did some research, and sure enough, I mean, you can buy them for like $19 on eBay. So I'm like, talk to me about the sports cards. I mean, what do you have? What do you have? And so he does. He goes, oh yeah, I got these in trade. I've got totes full, like big Rubbermaid totes full. He goes, one of them's like 2 feet deep of sports cards, and they're just random. I think he said baseball, basketball, and football. I'm going to sort them. And I think there's, lots of money worth in here. There's, Jerry Rice cards, and there's Michael Jordan cards, and there's lots of Bo Jackson and Nolan Ryan. And, and he's naming all these like 80s and 90s players. And I'm thinking to myself, well, 80s and 90s cards just historically aren't worth anything. They really are not. And, in the off chance that there is a good card in there, the chance of it being worth a lot of money is very minimal because they've just been literally loosely thrown into a tote. So I'm sure they've got banged up corners and nicks and dents and bends and all these things. But like an idiot, I pursue this a little bit. And so I tell him, I said, okay, well, this thing is just sitting in my garage. I'm not going to use it. My son and I are getting into sports cards. So I might have some interest, I mean, depending upon, what it all is. And I was very honest with him. I said, here's my plan is I might take the best few cards that I can, if there's any of any value, and I'm going to sell them, right? And that's how I'm going to recoup my money. And then I'm just going to let my kid have all the random junky cards, whatever. That way he can play with them, he can look at them, he can give them to his friends, he can trade them away. I don't care what he does. But in my mind, I'm thinking I'm helping this guy out because he doesn't have the cash. He needs this tool. He got these cards in trade, and he's not a collector himself. In fact, he knew very little about them. So I was honestly thinking this is going to be a win-win for everybody. Yeah, not so much. So I'll fast forward. We go back and forth. And at one point he goes, oh yeah, no, I was talking to this guy, and he kept referring to him. And he acted like I knew who he was. But he goes, this guy, Ronnie or something like that, he says that this is worth hundreds of dollars, and I'd be a fool to trade him away. And, I could sell some of these cards individually for several $100s. And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound right. I mean, I saw a picture. He showed me a picture of the boxes, right, of these totes that had cards piled in there. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he did mention like Michael Jordan. Now, let's say there's an off chance that there's a Michael Jordan rookie card in there, right? Yeah, that's a several $1,000s card if it's in halfway decent condition. It's many hundreds of dollars, even in crappy condition. So the way he kind of tells me, oh, well, whatever, Robbie or Ronnie or whatever the guy's name was, the way he kind of says, well, this guy thinks there's a lot of value here. Now I'm kind of thinking, well, like, maybe this is an okay deal. Maybe this is an okay trade, and I will be able to recoup my $150 or my $100 at a minimum to at least feel like I sold that lift or that hoist. And again, then just give the rest of the cards to my kid and be done with it. So we go back and forth a whole bunch, and he's hot and cold and hot and cold. And yeah, I'll trade. No, maybe I won't. Maybe I should go get this stuff graded because apparently that's the way to do it. And finally, I'm like, you know what? You're right. Why don't you go get them graded? Why don't you do what you can to sell them to Ronnie or whatever? Maybe Ronnie wants to buy them, and then like let him cash you out, and then you just come buy this thing from me. And okay, yeah, well, I don't know if I have the time, and I don't know, whatever. And so again, we're kind of going back and forth. And finally, I'm like, dude, listen, if you want, I'll just trade you. Okay. I'll take the hassle. I will get them graded if I have to. I will sift through whatever, and let's just make the trade. So he replies and he's like, you know what? Okay, let's just do it. That sounds great. I was able to put together a set of like 1990 Score cards. Okay, now Score's not even like a brand anymore. And they're you're very stereotypical, like just junk wax of the 80s and 90s. It's not a high quality card. It's whatever. And there's like 700 cards in the set. So I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, that's great. Thank you for sorting some of that stuff already. Now I kind of know what's there. And yeah, oh yeah, no. And there's some really great cards. Nolan Ryan and Bo Jackson. He keeps saying Deion Sanders and stuff. And I'm like, okay. I mean, fine. Again, these 80s, 90s players, that's fine. So I drive to his house, and he's like 15 minutes away from me. Not super far. Pretty easy, right off the highway, like real easy. And I pull off. I go down his street. I turn into his driveway, and he comes out and he's, hey, how's it going? You know, I'm whatever, James or Jason or Jonathan or something. Shakes my hand, and you know, all excited. And he's got a grocery store bag, if you will, like a handled cloth grocery store bag, right? Like a Walmart bag that you'd buy. And he's got it in his hand. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking that is not totes with 2 feet deep of cards in it. Like, what? Huh. But then I'm thinking like, well, okay, he did say he kind of sorted through, like maybe they're all straightened out and organized. And if they are, they do take up less space. And he just caught me off guard, right? So he's like, oh, here you go, man. Here's those cards, you know, like I talked about with you. And I put in a couple of extras in there, and you're going to be really happy with them. Like, this is going to be awesome. You're going to love it. And I'm like, okay, here, you know, here's the hoist, whatever. So as I'm getting in my truck, he goes, hey man, if you're not happy, just let me know. Let me know. I mean, I want to make it right. I think I'm doing you solid. Like, this is going to be awesome. Thank you again. I'm really happy, you know, making this trade's really great for me and stuff like that. Okay. So I get back in my truck and I hand my son this bag of cards. And he says the exact same thing. He's like, Dad, I thought you said we were getting like boxes of cards. Well, this is a bag, a small bag. And I said, yeah, bud, I'm a little bit confused myself. So let's go home and we'll kind of figure it out. So we drive the 15 minutes back home, and I come in the house and I bring the bag in, set it on my dining table, and open it up, and I look inside. What he had done was literally sourced out this 700 card Score set from 1990, and he'd put them in like 7 bags. There was probably about 100 in each bag, something like that. I didn't even get through them. And then there was one extra bag in there that had the good cards, as he put it. You know, there was a very iconic Bo Jackson card, which I'll show you right here. Okay. There were a couple other cards. There were a small puzzle card. Those were kind of fun in the 80s, you know, when I was like 8 years old, to put together a little puzzle. What else? You know, there were 2 unopened, like repackaged card packs, again, of like random 80s and 90s stuff. They weren't opened, but I wasn't about to open them at this point, you know. And so I said to my son, you know, he did mention as I was getting in the truck, like if I'm not totally satisfied or happy with how this went, to let him know. And he wants to make it right. He wants the hoist. He wants this thing. So I message him, and immediately the dude like freaks out. This is what I told you. I told you it was just the Score set. You know, it's worth so much money. That Bo Jackson card, the one I just showed you guys, that thing sells for like $10,000. And oh man, you're trying to rip me off. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? So then I start second guessing, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe this set is worth some money. So I go on eBay and I search in 1990 Score complete baseball set, you know, whatever, 704 cards or 708 cards or whatever it is. Comes up like buy it now, $19.99 for a factory sealed box. Like the entire set, factory sealed from 1990. It's like $20. And I'm like, Okay, so I go back to my messenger and I'm messaging the dude and I'm like, hey, listen, and I'm screenshotting, right? Like, hey, listen, I think there's a miscommunication. I think you don't know exactly what this is. Oh, I know exactly what it is. Ronnie told me all about it and how much money it's worth, and you're scamming me. And I'm like, dude, no, I can literally go on eBay and buy this set brand new in the box for $20. That includes shipping. And they're all in perfect mint condition. This thing has never been opened. And here you're trying to give me these cards that are like gritty feeling, that are all dinged up, that have been stored in a dirty box. Now you've put them in Ziploc bags. They're far from good condition. I mean, I couldn't get them graded if I wanted to. None of them would grade. I mean, they'd be like 1, 2, 3. Maybe there were a few one-off random players in there where the condition was a little better, but none of the good, meaningful players had really great condition anything. And so I'm like, what can we do? I'm a little bit confused. I was under the impression I was getting these 2 totes full, like 2 feet deep worth of cards. Oh, no. Oh, no. I told you. I'm like, no, you didn't. And so we go back and forth, and I'm trying to be really polite. And I tell him several times, like, listen, man, I'm not mad. I think that we just sort of miscommunicated. My expectations were a little different. I felt like you told me you were just going to give me the lot and not just this score set. Truthfully, if I understood that you were just giving me the score set, I wouldn't have driven out here. I wouldn't have done the deal. I would have just said thanks, but no thanks. And, so he insists that he was very clear, and he starts screenshotting and sending me screenshots of our conversation. And so I'm rereading it, and I'm still reading it the same way I interpreted it the first time. And I'm like, yeah, no, you said right here, like, you organized out a score set. You didn't say you were only going to give me the score set, and so we're going back and forth. And he's like, well, that Bo Jackson, there's one for sale on Walmart.com, like a random seller has it on there for $1,400. That's worth way more than your hoist, your stupid hoist. I think at this point he starts getting real snippy with me. And I'm like, well, I mean, listen here, bud. Like, you can list something for sale for whatever you want. I mean, okay, my car's for sale for $1 million. Does that make every Mustang out there worth $1 million in worse condition? No. He didn't like that, right? I mean, of course, because I'm in the wrong. And so I'm like, listen, what can we do? And he's like, well, I don't know. Why don't we just trade back? I'm like, okay, great. It's kind of what I was hoping he'd say, right? Like, just to make me go away. And so he reluctantly says, okay, fine, let's just trade back, like, bring me the cards and I'll bring you the hoist and yada, yada, yada. But he goes, I'm going to be really angry if there's any cards missing. I'm like, trust me, dude. Like, they're already back in my truck. I didn't even open all the bags and no cards are missing. Like, I promise you, I don't want any of them. There's nothing missing from that bag. So I sleep on it, right? And I'm thinking to myself, this later that same night, like much later, I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I just don't even care. This guy needs this hoist way more than I do, obviously. And I don't know, like, I can survive without the $100. I don't need it. This is kind of a learning lesson, if nothing else, for my kid, my son. He watched this whole thing go down. And he saw my emotion when I felt like we'd sort of been robbed. I mean, essentially we got shorted. And, I was really, really close to just chalking it up to whatever. It's a learning experience and it's a funny story. And now I have a really crappy condition Bo Jackson card that I paid $100 for. I mean, essentially, right? And so I was literally this close. But I woke up the next morning and I thought, you know what? I mean, maybe what I do is I drive out there, and if the hoist isn't sitting where he says it's sitting, maybe I don't confront him, maybe I don't knock on his door, maybe I don't bug him and I just keep on driving. But if it's sitting there, like he says he's gonna leave it, then I'll just leave the cards in its place. So on my lunch break, I drove out to his place, and sure enough, it was sitting out there. And so I swapped back, and now it's sitting right back over here. And I would tell you that it was probably 4.5 seconds after I left his driveway. He sends me a message and goes, "There's cards missing. There are cards missing." I'm just like, dude, there's no cards missing. I'm really sorry to have inconvenienced you. I really think that it would be in your best interest to get this stuff graded because you clearly think there's a lot of value here. And I would love nothing more than for you to prove me wrong. Bye. And then I blocked him. So I have no idea. And it was just a wild fiasco. And he was kind of a big baby about it. I mean, I don't know. And maybe I was in the wrong. If he didn't leave me that opening by saying, "Hey, if you're not happy with the trade, like, let me know. I want to make it right. I want to, let's do this." His whole point was, well, I told you I didn't have the money. I told you that this was the trade. I was going to give you these cards. And he just couldn't wrap his mind around the fact that I thought we were getting more cards than what we ended up getting. And when I told him that in the messages, he's like, "Well, you're just trying to take advantage. I told you I had all these Michael Jordan cards and I had da 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 da." And I'm like, "Listen, man, I'm not trying to take advantage. I literally just want a fair trade. You gave me $20, not even, because they weren't in good condition, not even $20 worth of cards for something I'm asking $150 for, and you think I'm ripping you off? That makes 0 sense to me." So, I just couldn't argue his logic and my logic were two very different animals. And we both, and I realize this, we both thought we were in the right. Whether one of us is in the wrong, you might be watching this and being like, "Josh, you're an idiot." Like, well, if you agreed to the trade, you should have honored it. Well, I don't disagree with you. I don't. And that's why I had that quick moment of consideration to not trade him back. But he left me with that opening. And again, he put the lift out, or the hoist out, for me to trade him back. So I don't feel bad about it. I really don't. But it's literally the worst. That was the worst Facebook marketplace experience I've ever had. It did make me feel a little sick to my stomach. And, I'm a pretty non-confrontational person anyway. So it took a lot for me to even say something to him in the first place. And I get it. Social media makes everybody kind of keyboard warriors and whatever the terms are. We all are a little more brave when we're not standing face to face with somebody. But at the same time, I didn't want to go down without a fight at that point, because for all I know, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly that he was giving me $20 worth of cards or less, and tried to fool me into thinking that, oh yeah, they're worth a lot more because some guy told him they were. So, and I'm not saying that's the case, but the psychological side of it does make you kind of wonder. He probably really genuinely thought he gave me a lot of money worth of baseball cards. But he was very upfront initially in saying, "I don't collect. I got these in trade and I don't need them or want them. Yeah, I'd be happy to trade them for something that I need and want," right? It wasn't until he started going through them and Googling and finding out that a perfect mint condition Bo Jackson rookie card or whatever might be worth $1,000. And he gives me one that's got a big crease right through Bo's hand on the corner of the card, right? Like it was not in good condition. It would never have graded well. It is literally a $3.50 or $4 card, which I also told him. I did show him. I screenshotted. I went to eBay and went to completed items of that card that were in similar condition to his, not graded, right? And literally there were dozens and dozens and dozens that sold anywhere literally from 99 cents to about $4. So I just screenshotted like 5 of them. It was like one screen of 5 cards, all selling between $2 and $3. And I sent it to him. And I'm like, "Listen, this is what this card's worth in its current condition." And that's when he spouted off, "Oh, somebody on Walmart.com is selling it for over $1,000. Well, okay. Good luck for that guy. I hope he gets it, right? So anyway, that's my story. That's all I got for you guys this week. I just wanted to walk you through that. And I'm kind of getting a little bit jittery, just like rehashing it out, really thinking about it. This was a few weeks ago now. And it's just so strange. Like, again, I didn't see how I was in the wrong maybe trying to trade back was not the right thing for me to do. But again, I did not understand the trade. He was not clear with what I was going to get. And then he gave me what he did, which was not what my expectation was. And I probably should have said something to him right when he handed me that bag up front, like right at the beginning. But I didn't, and that is on me. And so I don't know. I mean, what's done is done, and we undid it. And I didn't keep any of the cards, despite whatever he thinks. But yeah, it is what it is. So how about you guys? Ever been in a weird situation with a Facebook Marketplace buyer or seller, or even Craigslist or anything like that? What did you do, and what would you do? Say you're me, or say you're that guy. Put yourselves in that guy's shoes. And what do you think? What do you think of my response to it, right? Was it the right thing to do, or did I overstep, or I don't know. I don't know that there's a right answer. Like I said, we were able to undo our trade, and then I felt better about it, but I don't know. It sort of was what it was. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and most importantly, remember, may every investment you make be a good one. Till next time.